Now, the One Young World Summit has over the years brought together some of the brightest global young minds to engage with influential leaders in having conversations and finding solutions to challenges facing humanity, including climate change, the lack of human rights, and the fight for social justice. The summit is currently being held in Belfast, and delegates are counselled by influential political, business, and humanitarian leaders such as Sir Bob Geldof, former Island President Mary Robinson, former Miss South African Shudufhadzo Musida, and our very own former Public Protector of South Africa, Professor Thuli Madonsela. Well, we're so lucky to be joined by her. She's taken a bit of time out to chat to us. She's at the One Young World Summit, which is happening in Belfast, and she's here with us this morning. Prof, so lovely to have you here on the program, and welcome to Morning Live.
What an honor and a joy. Greetings, Leanne, and greetings to the people.
I remember as a program, we went down to The Hague when it was held in The Hague, and we happened to be sort of there listening to the speakers, participating in some of the forums, and I must say it's a wonderful thing to listen to these young minds coming together and sharing ideas from all around the world. You participating in this as a counsellor and as a social justice activist, what does this role actually mean for you?
Well, it's a huge opportunity to engage with the young leaders that are changing the world by addressing the most pressing challenges of our time. We provide some mentorship. For example, whilst I was here, I provided some mentorship to some lawyers on how to change the law, on how to integrate social justice in the law, and how to do social justice lawyering. But this year, we've also been talking about hunger and food insecurity, climate change, as you said, human rights, and peace and reconciliation, which we're champions of as South Africans. So it's time for us to grab that champion identity on peace and reconciliation again.
Yeah, and it certainly is a very important. I mean, some of the leaders that South Africa has produced has been absolutely incredible, like yourselves, who are brave, fearless, and working towards change. So, you have a platform, and for me, what's fascinating is that you literally at this One Young World. I'm not too sure how many young people are represented from around the world, but if I remember, it was almost every country is almost represented at Young World. So, talk to me, how many countries are actually represented there?
It's over 180 countries that are represented, and more than 4,000 young leaders from all over the world who are changing the world by not only complaining about what's going wrong in our countries, but they're providing solutions from climate change, pushback solutions, anti-hunger solutions, water solutions, green energy solutions, and of course, the issue of peace and reconciliation. But also some of them are also tackling corruption.
And that's an important issue because, sometimes we sit and we think that we're alone in fighting corruption in the world here in South Africa. We get so wrapped up in our problems, but it is a very global issue and it exists in every single country, albeit at different varying levels. But what do the youth feel about that? And how do they suggest we fight the scourge of corruption amongst leaders, amongst businesses, and amongst normal individuals?
Well, many young people, Leanne, are going beyond suggesting. One Young World is a platform where they showcase what are they doing as young people to solve these problems. For example, on corruption, some of them have gone into parliament to change laws. Some of them are using technology to make sure that as it happens, it gets snapped and shared on social media platforms. And of course, some of them are using freedom of the media to express what is going on. And then there is obviously also the issue of educating the public so as to activate civic activism. So you use the law to make sure that it provides space. It provides space that supports social accountability. You support each other by connecting the lights as young people. We're in Liverpool country at the moment. Of course, young people here know you should never be alone, because whatever you're facing, be it corruption, climate change, hunger, or the shrinking space for the media and freedom of expression, there's always somebody else that's dealing with the same issue. There's always somebody else that has provided a solution to it. And I think the most exciting solutions that I've seen are solutions around recycling waste to make things. And Africa has been emerging outstandingly on issues of water purification. South Africa, water purification. India, well, which is not Africa, it's another continent. Kenya on recycling. Well, no, it wasn't Kenya, it was Ghana. But, you know, I would count so many countries, so many things. But what young people in South Africa need to know from One Young World is that it is a platform where young people that are providing solutions to the most pressing challenges of our time find an opportunity to come and share their challenges and showcase their solutions.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I find also quite fascinating with this particular summit this year is the whole celebration, and this is all going on with regard to the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Good Friday Agreement, and this was obviously between the UK and Ireland, and I mean this was a very difficult part in history, but we're seeing that as part of some of the celebrations that will take place during this 25th anniversary. I know Queen Rania of Jordan was there as well. This is quite significant because we are seeing a war that is, or that a world at the moment that's being ravaged by wars, and the face of it is changing at the moment, and the youth are most at risk during these times. What are the kind of messages with regard to peace and with regard to the wars that are raging around that the youth are witnessing and being very, very affected by? I mean, many refugees, many people being kicked out of their countries and not being able to grow up in their country of birth. What's being said about this?
Well, the key messages around peace are that peace is in our hands. And secondly, sustainable development is impossible without peace. And that's why in the SDG 16 talks about peace. But also the Good Friday Agreement gives us an example of how talking, sitting around the table can make a difference. And I'll be speaking about that in the afternoon. I'm on a platform that's talking about what's happening in geopolitics and how through finding common ground as a starting point, we can make a difference. We did it in South Africa. Our peace process has been a little bit messy and it has not been linear, but it still serves as an example of what can be achieved. So what happened in Belfast, the Good Friday Agreement, and what happened in South Africa are examples of two things. It can be done. But secondly, you've got to continue to irrigate. Peace is sustained through justice. And that's why our conversations here include hunger, include equality, and all forms of inclusion, because as long as there's injustice somewhere, there can't be sustainable peace anywhere.
And that leads me to another theme, and one that we looked at quite extensively as well was this year also seeing the 75th anniversary of the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights. And when we look at socioeconomic challenges that are faced by millions in our country, how would you say that we've done in delivering on the promise of universal human rights? And obviously, I know that this is a global summit, but we look back here, and I suppose we talk about it from the viewpoint of being a democratic country that is grappling with some of the biggest human rights violations.
Well, Leanne, I was on a platform yesterday where we were assessing precisely 75 years of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Our summary was today is much better than yesterday. None of us would like to reverse the hands of time and live 75 years ago. However, we do think that we could have done better. And there are two areas where we need to do better. For example, in South Africa, things are better than they were before 1994. But we need to make sure that every law contributes to equalizing opportunities, not just Equality Act, not just Employment Equity Act, every law. You can't pass a law that exacerbates inequalities. In other words, then the design of laws should be tailored for all and meet everyone where you are. And at Stellenbosch University, we have techniques for doing this and instruments for doing this. The second thing where we fail, Leanne, is the heart. When Eleanor Roosevelt was talking about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which she had led, she made a statement about, at the end of the day, for these human rights to have legs, for them to thrive, they would have to be in the hearts of people, because human rights do not happen in these big platforms. They happen every day in the lives of people, in small spaces where we interact with each other. And if in those spaces we can't be human together, we can't embrace the humanity of each other, then things fail, which leads me, Leanne, to the fact that it's not just about making sure that government does its job, corporations obey the law. It's also about me and you and everyone else doing their little bit, like many of these leaders at One Young World, like the work that Kate did, which wasn't her job, to start One Young World together with David Jones. They felt that I want to live in a peaceful world. I want to live in a world where there's social cohesion. What can I do? Invest in justice. And at Stellenbosch University, we're investing in the pilgrimage of hope. We will be walking 300 kilometers to raise funds for student fees so that nobody is left behind, because again, that's an injustice and that's a threat.
All right. Prof, we have to leave it there. We wish you the best of luck for this afternoon and for your address, and no doubt you're going to influence those delegates and those young minds in an unbelievable way. That was Professor Thuli Madonsela, the director at the Centre for Social Justice in Stellenbosch University, talking to us about her participation at the One Young World Summit that's currently being held in the city of Belfast.